Yeah, you're introducing me, right?
Of course. Larissa Shmailo's new novel is Slybang from Spite and Dibble. Her first novel is Patient Women from Blazevox. Her poetry collections include Medusa's Country from Mad Hat Press, I'm very proud to say, hashtag special characters from Unlikely Books, Over This Way, In Paran from Blazevox, the chapbook A Cure for Suicide, Chilena Barber Press, from Gloria Mindock's fantastic Somerville, Boston group, and the ebook Fib Sequence from Argotist, Jeffrey Side in Liverpool. Her poetry albums are The No Net World and Exorcism, for which she won the New Century Best Spoken Word Album Award. Larissa's work has appeared in the anthologies Measure for Measure from Penguin, Words for the Wedding, Contemporary Russian Poetry from Dolky, Choice Words, Writers on Abortion from Haymarket. Larissa is the original English language translator of the futurist opera Victory Over the Sun by Alexei Kushnev, possibly the first futurist opera that ever was. And it was performed at the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, the Garage Museum of Moscow, the Brooklyn Academy of Music, and many theaters and universities worldwide. Larissa also edited the anthology 21st Century Russian Poetry, which came out with Big Bridge Press, and has been a translator for the Eugene A. Nida Institute for Biblical Scholarship of the American Bible Society. Please find out more about her on her website, which is www.larissashmailo.com. Welcome, Larissa.
Okay, thank you, Marc. And welcome to our fantastic show. We have today a founders reading, which means that Marc and Jonathan and I are going to do an extended set of our poetry. And we have a blockbuster show for you with our special guests, Keith Flynn and Quincy Troupe. All right, this is going to be major. We've got a film for you. We've got Q&A. We got poetry. And we have all kinds of other wonderful things. I'm going to tell you about, I'm going to read first, and then I'm going to tell you about some upcoming shows that we have. But I'm going to read you a couple of poems now. This one's called Mapping. The pigeons fly in cursive flocks, graceful ox, except this one, gone ahead or left behind in urgent solo flight. Below a willow leans, thin and sparse, looking for sparks like an addict in the morning trafficked street. A man like you hands me a urine cup and sleeps. I have told you before, here at the doorway of 1,000 unhappy homes, there is something more a place than time or space in loneliness. Come, reluctantly spend the day. Look at the unconnected stars, the uncollected lights, without name or home or constellation of their own, and imagine a use with me for all that doesn't fit. This is called a sop for Cerberus. He needed me. Alone at the gates of hell, he looked at me, his 6 roomy eyes fixing me imploringly. So I had fed him meat. And with a leap, he jumped onto my back. The animal musk and the weight of him, the great paws, the salivating jaw, the hot muzzle and demon bloody wounds. Startling. But I found I could carry him and brought him home to keep. The dead do not play, the dead do not speak. Okay, since we have fascism in our country now, and it has taken root and is growing every day unless we start fighting very, 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 very hard, I'm going to read to you the natural concomitant of fascism, which is a poem called How My Family Survived the Camps. Was mich nicht umbringt, macht mich stärker. What does not kill me makes me stronger. Nietzsche said this about other things, not this. How did my family survive the camps? Were they smarter, stronger than the rest? Were they lucky? Did luck exist in Dora Nordhausen, Auschwitz, and Bergen-Belsen? How did my family survive? They were young, my mother and father, in 1943, 20 years old when taken as slaves. No one knew my father was a soldier, a communist, so he was not shot or taken to be gassed. My grandmother said quickly to the Germans, "He is a mechanic." They needed mechanics. My grandmother, Soviet businesswoman, begged and bribed the Ukrainian kapos, begged and bribed the Germans, not SS. They took my father, son of a commissar, and shot the other men. How did my family survive? They offered no resistance. Did they collaborate? Is complicity possible without choice? They marched to Germany, working, following the German army, following the front, digging trenches, carrying metal. These were the good camps, Kalinovka, Peremirshel. There still was food. My mother recalls eating an entire vat of potatoes fouled by kerosene, discarded by the Germans and SS. The treatment was not cruel, comparatively not cruel. In 1944, the Germans were as afraid of the Russian front as the prisoners were of Germany and of the other camps, where they went, nonetheless, where they were sent, nonetheless. How did they survive Erfurt, the selection? My mother spoke good German. I see her now at the staging camp, her keen wit dancing around the SS like her young Slavic feet. She was young and good-looking, thin but good-looking, and the SS liked the Ukrainian Frauen. On the cattle cart to Dora, to the chimneys of that camp, my mother rode with her family intact, thinner but intact and ready for work. How did my family survive? Was it luck? In Dora Nordhausen, where the air smelled of shit and gas, where the sun rose but never shone, was there luck? The boxcar stopped at the Nordhausen factory, the way out through a crematorium chimney in Dora. Here, my grandmother learned languages. Stavach, stoi, Rennschwein, halt! In Dora, where not to understand an order meant death, my grandmother learned 6 languages. After 6 months, my family could work, hide, and ask for bread in all the languages of Europe. They learned English the same way. How did my family survive? When the Americans came with chocolate and blankets, my father, 6'1", was 120 pounds. And still we were rich, my mother interjects, rich compared to the Jews. A few months longer, we would not have been alive. How did my family survive? My grandfather, a teacher, told this story. When the Americans came and saw the camp, they invited the people to loot the nearby towns. Take anything, the well-fed soldiers said. My grandfather stood and spoke. We are not animals, he said, but we were, my father interrupts, we were. How did my family survive? Survive is not the right word. I'm alive, my father would say, alive. Alive because I did not die, others died. Keep breathing, he encouraged me in difficult times. Keep breathing. Fight fascism in the United States. Fight fascism in the United States. Let me tell you about our upcoming readings. We have some fantastic readings coming up. September 5th, we have Ray Armentrout, Wang Ping, Leanne Brown, and Rian Amelker Scott. Do not miss. September 12th, we have a translation panel. Helene Cardona, Jennifer Kwan Dobbs, John Taylor. And September 19th, sign up for our open mic. We're doing an open mic for 100,000 Poets for Change. Contact us if you want to read. We have a wide open mic and we're waiting for you to sign up. So definitely sign up. It's now my pleasure to introduce my co-host, Jonathan Penton. In 1998, Jonathan Penton founded unlikelystories.org, which has been running as a continuously updated web magazine since then. Unlikely Stories spawned a daughter company, Unlikely Books, which publishes 3 to 5 poetry books per year. Jonathan has lent editorial and management assistance to a number of literary and artistic ventures, such as the New Orleans Poetry Festival, Mad Hat Inc., and Big Bridge. He has organized literary performances in places like Alabama, Arkansas, California, Chihuahua, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Louisiana, Massachusetts, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Texas, and Washington State and DC. His poetry books are Last Chap, Blood and Salsa and Painting Rust, Prosthetic Gods, and Standards of Sedity. and the free e-chat backstories, which you can get from Argus ebooks for free. Definitely download that for free, Argus ebooks backstories. I am now very happy to introduce Jonathan. Take it away, Jonathan.
Thank you, Larissa. So yeah, I won't be reading anything quite that good, and that's okay. This is a prayer for 2018. May you know your neighbors' names. May those names cause more pleasure than frustration. May they applaud the life you choose to build, your triumphs and flaws, your loyalty and trysts, your science and your gods. May you work with good people. May your hours stay loose and easy. May you remember how to share the small things, the pittance you can grab, that grows upon sharing so that you may have enough to last the season, though the season will bring hurricanes and corpses till the sun conquers your orchards and fields both. May you find new courage then. May your neighbors come in time. May their loved ones surround you as you recall all you've lost. May you never need a wall. May your lamps burn bright beside the golden door and set fire to ice until it is no more. I've got a couple of Greyhound poems to read. Narrative poems on the bus. This first one is called a Greyhound poem, but it's actually about a megabus. So, you know, be aware, I've lied already. I trained someone at a call center back before the bubble burst, when every poet who could worked in a call center. Between calls, the trainee would retype the same line into Black Planet over and over. When you coming down to Atlanta to see me? Now, this was Black Planet circa 1999, so almost all the women on it lived in Atlanta, but he never noticed that, I think. I think he didn't want me to see him embarrassing. I think he forgot I was there. The man on the bus last night, he was different. The man on the bus knew I was there. He knew we were all there, riding with him from New Orleans to Atlanta as he talked to a mildly interested woman on speakerphone. He wanted us to witness his good game. He told her she was on speakerphone because he was driving, but besides wanting us to hear, he was scrolling through Snapchat looking for future targets. Now, he wasn't the multitasker he thought he was, and she had to work to keep him engaged in the conversation. Finally, he said, "Are you going to be my baby or what?" And she said, let's just see how things develop, and hung up. For the next 5 minutes, we all tried to sleep while he said, "Hello? Hello? Hello?" into the phone over and over again. I think he remembered we were there. I think he wanted us to see him embarrassing, but I can't really say for sure. There are scrubs in New Orleans, but they aren't like the ones in Atlanta. They don't need to ride buses in circles all day looking for someone who will speak to them. They whistle and call, but they can tell their targets apart. They know one woman from another. They're your neighbor's cousin. They already know how to find out your last name. This is another Greyhound poem. Before I visited him, he wrote, "So glad you're taking the bus. I always find bus rides to be a deliciously erotic experience. The steady throne below me, those massive engines working, the vibrations running into my ass through the seat, I always masturbate. It's very satisfying." Now, I knew what he was talking about. I know the dreams I have on the bus, the erections I always wake with. I knew all that, but I replied in confusion, "You can jack off in a bus bathroom? How do you stand the smell?" I was in denial. I was about to visit him and didn't want to understand him. He didn't reply. He wasn't in denial after all. He knew how he wanked it. Not in the bathroom, but in a seat. And preferably not alone. Preferably while there was a young woman next to him. You know how it's done. We've all seen it done. If the woman is a little older, she'll find another woman and arrange to sit with her. If the woman is young enough, she'll wait until the bus's next stop, then ask to sit with me. I'll nod assent, offer her the window or the aisle, then go to sleep and dream more private dreams. All right, I'll read one more. This is from my chapbook backstories, which, as Larissa mentioned, is from Argus Chapbooks, and you can find it there online. Oh, mornin' cracklin', children dancin', in summer camps to 90s beats. Oh, Texas swing, oh, German squeeze box, oh, rallies for our virgins lost. Oh, king of cookouts, lord of Hennessy, bless us with the magic of your fantastic Cadillac. Oh, queen of daiquiris, dressed in emerald, your ass a shelf on which 2 beer cans can stand. Oh, master of festivals, older than Paul, prince of the power of the mysteries in the air. O mistress of burials. And we who see no difference between vengeance and escape, we who have challenged Ozymandias to a foot race, we who seek the feminine in necklaces of pearls, we who seek the masculine in Christmas ornament beers. O float that honors Han Solo's passing, O float that mocks a lynching victim. O theater marathon for Amy and Charles Schumer. O 600th ride for bicyclists' respect. We whose hotel skyscrapers reach from cliff to swamp. We who feel unsettled if we aren't building on the sand. O Fedodo. O second line. O gentle command in the cry room. May our every wound become radiant in your heat. Thank you. All right. I'm going to introduce our co-host, Marc Vincenz. So glad to be able to hear an extended set from him. Marc Vincenz is an Anglo-Swiss poet, a fiction writer, translator, editor, publisher, designer, multi-genre artist, and musician. He has published 14 books of poetry, including more recently, Becoming the Sound of Bees, Leaning into the Infinite, The Syndicate of Water and Light, and Here Comes the Night Dust. Vincenz's newest collection, The Little Book of Earthly Desires, and a novella set in ancient China, The Three Taoes of Tao, or How to Catch a Fortuitous Elephant, are both forthcoming in 2021 from Spiked and Bible. An album of music, ambience and verse, Left Hand Clapping, is also forthcoming from Tree Torn Records. Vincenz is also a prolific translator and has translated from the German, Romanian, and French. He has published 10 books of translation, most recently Unexpected Development by award-winning Swiss poet and novelist Klaus Merz, and which was a finalist for the 2016 Cliff Becker Book Prize in Translation. His poems have been published in many journals, including The Nation, Plowshares, The Los Angeles Review, World Literature Today, Raritan, and Plume. His work has received fellowships and grants from the Swiss Arts Council, the National Endowment for the Arts, and the Witcher-Benner Foundation for Poetry. He's the editor and publisher of Mad Hat Press and publisher of New American Writing. He has lived all over the world, from Brazil to China to Iceland to India. He was born in Matilda Hospital on the Peak in Hong Kong, but now lives on a farm in rural western Massachusetts, overlooking Herman Melville's Greylock Mountain, and where there are more coyotes and bears than people. Marc, will you read for us today?
I would love to. These poems are rather short ones. They all come from a book that I've been working on called 39 Wonders and Other Management Issues. And they're all sort of about 4 or 5 lines, something like that. Secondhand smoke. The water moon has eyes. In China, they call her a rabbit. In Sumatra, the turtle who climbs the stairs. The night is clear to be crossed. A window on the park. Charges of bees in the high trees, a scattering of queenly gifts, an embrace on an island in the reeds, a mower of meadows, knee-deep in weeds, a boat made of plastic swans. Miracle. To celebrate it, the endless silence. We revived in the evening. Everything turns into something else. Only the unknown fills us wherever we go. Tangential. Like a fist Whatever the wish, the wind and the cloud, two aging ways to ride the tow. Tell me this, are you ready to end spring? Can you renew the mystery? Above the wind, alone, in case, hiding in shadows, a telling thing that maneuver. Did playing make your life a captive? Across the wind, in bed, what symmetry? A mirror of yourselves. Undo everything, steal times, sharp oxygen. Only 4 seasons, the harvest laid bare. Unknow. Pitchfork in the air, in the line of faith, squeeze the pulp at your leisure. Fashion victim, supplant yourself, thrust your palms in the fire. 11 a.m. in the cafe. Undue courtesies, unfashionable tides, Venetian blinds, a thump of faith with croissants early at the hearth, filling all the voids, excellence everywhere. Unreasonable, hush money, this much is due, unlearn all those mysteries, live in a daze. The thing to do is to outlive outlandishly, to die cruel deaths 100,000 times. Suffused with innocence, indolence as an archipelago, fighting yourself there in the old sunlight. Trees are treasonous, sonorific, capturing your echo, if only to be free of the breeze. Undertaking, vapor, in and out of mouths, a word within a word. There is more to this than moths. May we disappear into the rock, you say. May we be carbon dioxide. May we sleep in a parsimonious glade. To not and have not. Underwhelmed in the in and out, scratching and strutting. Undecided and underwhelmed in the disappearing act, in the light, pain, or sleeplessness, to walk away with frost on our coats. Suffused too, an exhalation but not a sigh, provoked by the inscriptions, another passing car, another passing whisper. What of the friendship with my neighbor? We lived too powerfully. We went dead in our eyes. Outlandish. Altered carburetor. Again, love to all this. Wait, don't change your face. The ground before you parts. You are the most fully living thing of all. You, to whom we speak, live and fall. The small hours, living the wish for those who sleep on the side, the way of small parts deep in the underbrush, or on the outside, underlying the watchful eyes of the iron clock, the wandering wheel. A few more. Statewide. In a circumference, in stasis, unworthy of a surname, a run on the trail, a collection of spitefulness, an unwitting thing like mindfulness compounded with habitude. Go into him twice. It's worth the effort. Offhand, unwillingly, unwittedly written. 5 odes to the scribe, a sophomore unaligned with the sky, a restless figure, unattended, undervalued, underhanded, uninclined. A termination point. Full stop, scribble, scribble. Still, full stop, period. The sky has no edge. Understand, the sheep wander, unattended. Understand, a feather, dusted sleep, washes clean. A feather, dusted sleep, washes clean. It's almost like a piper picked a peck of pickled pepper or something like that. And for the last one, this one's, once again, a 5-line poem. It's called So, like the Peter Gabriel album. Anyone who knows that? The field thirsts. The weather takes its own time. Unparalleled these equivocations. The field thirsts, and in their mark of the everywhere, unleash the demon. Let us run free. Thank you. So, and now we begin with the feature of our presentation today. We have two very renowned and amazing poets and musicians with us today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, and then I'm going to play a movie about the making of Quincy's album that he made at Keith's studio in Asheville, North Carolina. So Quincy was born in St. Louis, Missouri. He's an award-winning author of 10 volumes of poetry, 3 children's books, and 6 non-fiction works. Earl the Pearl, My Story, a memoir of legendary New York Knicks basketball star Earl Monroe, is Troupe's newest non-fiction work. In 2010, Quincy received the American Book Award for Lifetime Literary Achievement. Among his best-selling works are Miles, the autobiography of Miles Davis. And I know Quincy spent a lot of time with Miles, and I'm sure later he'll be happy to recount some of those stories. And his memoir, Miles and Me, which is soon to become a major motion picture and which Quincy wrote the screenplay for. Other notable works are The Pursuit of Happiness, an autobiography written with Chris Gardner that became a motion picture, major motion picture, and was a New York Times bestseller for over 40 weeks. Then his book, The Architecture of Language, which is a book of poems that won the 2007 Patterson Award for Sustained Literary Achievement, and Transcircularities, New and Selected Poems, which won the 2003 Milt Kestner Poetry Award, and was selected by Publishers Weekly as one of the 10 best books of poetry in that year. His latest album, I Throw My Rope, Tongue into the Sky, and by the way, I, written E-Y-E, was released in March 2020. His next collection of poetry is Duende, which will be out next year by 7 Stories Press, and from what I understand, it's quite a tome. I think it's 600 pages or something like that, but I'm sure Quincy will fill you in. And then, of course, we have Keith, who's coming to us from Asheville, North Carolina, who is the award-winning author of 7 books, including 6 collections of poetry, most recently Colony, Collapse Disorder, and the forthcoming Skin of Meaning from Red Hen Press. I believe Keith has already given a couple of readings. I don't know if the book is available on pre-order, but I'm sure he will let you know. And a collection of essays entitled The Rhythm Method, Razzmatazz and Memory, How to Make Your Poetry Swing, from Writer's Digest in 2007. Keith is also an acclaimed musician, and he was the lyricist and lead singer for the nationally acclaimed rock band The Crystal Zoo, which produced 3 albums, including Swimming Through Lake Erie, Pouch, and the spoken word and music compilation Nervous Splendor. He's currently touring with them when he can, of course, COVID outstanding, with his combo, the Holy Men. They also had an album live at Diana Wortham Theatre, which was released in 2011. He's also the executive director and producer of the TV show Live at Wide Rock Hall and the Animal Sounds Productions, which create collaborations with spoken word artists and writers, musicians in video and audio formats. His poetry and essays have appeared in many journals, including the American Literary Review, the Colorado Review, Poetry Wales, 5 Points, Poetry East, and many more. He's been awarded the Sandberg Prize for Poetry, a 2013 North Carolina Literary Fellowship, the ASCAP Emerging Songwriter Prize, the Palmonk Poetry Award, and was twice named the Gilbert Chapel Distinguished Poet for North Carolina. And I'm sure very soon, somewhere down the line, Keith is going to be the Poet Laureate of that state. Keith is founder and managing editor of the Asheville Poetry Review, an amazing print journal which has been publishing since 1994. And, you know, basically started by Keith single-handedly, and now with his team of amazing co-workers and so on, continues to thrive. And next, I would like to present you with a movie of the making of Quincy's album, produced at Keith's spot in Asheville and at the White Rock. Let me hope that my technology doesn't fail me. I'm going to now proceed to try to play this to you, and I think we're going to be okay.
Poetry is what the world wants when its heart is broken. We moved this little country church to the top of this mountain so that it could be filled with poetry and music. And this series is the culmination of that dream. We are bringing together world-class authors and musicians to create a collaboration that would exist no other way. My name is Keith Flynn. Welcome, my friends, to Live at White Rock Hall.
Take the ball dazzling down the lane. Herkin, jerkin, raise your 6 feet Latin frame in the air. What he screams.
Quincy and I have known each other for a long time, and I know that the key to getting a fantastic album for Quincy is a variety of styles, a variety of rhythms. When you record a poet, there's a sameness to the vocal no matter how dynamic they themselves are. And Quincy's a very dynamic reader and performer. But for the CD to have a narrative flair, it's got to pop. And there's got to be as many different textures and colors as we can do.
Mark, you've muted yourself.
Father, it was an honor to be there in the dugout.
You're muted again. I wonder what's happening. Yeah, it's on mute. Mark, can you hear me? Mark, can you hear me? You're on mute, Mark.
As an African baboon,
you know, Quincy just blew my mind vocally on this CD. Quincy's 78 years old. He is still a spectacular talent at all times. We didn't overdub a single vocal performance, nothing, not a single line, and that is extraordinary. We worked 4 days, 5 days straight, 2 days prior to that on the pre-production, and I worked Quincy hard, and he would take it and work and push back and had a million ideas. That is so beautiful for a cat like myself that loves language so much, to be able to hear these sort of other sensory feel for what he wants to accomplish.
And that guitar string smile, always sneaking across some virulent American redneck's face, scorching like atomic heat, mushrooming over Nagasaki and Hiroshima, the fever-blistered shadows of it all, inked as etchings into sizzle concrete. But you there, Father, through it all, yes, a yard chord solo, written on that.
We've just been sitting down here after working in the studio for the last 5 days and wanted to talk a little bit about the experience. Quincy, one of the things you're best known for is being a ghostwriter on the Miles Davis autobiography, which is a spectacular classic book. And so I have to think that you spent some good amount of time around Miles when he was in the recording studio and that sort of thing. How does that experience compare with what you've dealt with the last few days?
And my whole experience with Miles Davis was spectacular. And I got to be a good friend. And, you know, I loved his music since I was little in St. Louis. He's from East St. Louis, and I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. First band he played in was my cousin Eddie Randall's band. And so that was how we hit when I first came to interview him with Spin Magazine. Once I told him that he played in Eddie Randall's band, he relaxed with me. And he just relaxed. And we stayed friends till he died. Till he died. I love Miles Davis not only as a person, but as an artist, as a musician, as a force. He taught me a lot. He taught me a lot about being real in the world, to be truthful as an artist. But being here was different because I came here to work with you and to do this session here, to do this record and to do this whole thing that we've done. I've had a great time being here. I've had a great time being here, like recording, meeting a lot of people, reading. So it's been a special experience for me to do these record sessions. So I guess I can say that I don't know how Miles felt as a recording artist, but I felt great, with all these, having to go through all of these sessions, because I learned a lot. I changed my approach to the whole reading of a record and making a record. So that was very special to me because I'm not a recording artist. I'm a poet and a writer, and that's what I do. Not to brag about it, but I think we made a really interesting, important record while I was here.
Key of four, of course, is the band, and to me, the drummer is the key to that. Richard and I have known each other since the early '80s. He plays in the Holy Man. He's a very versatile drummer. He can play a wide variety of styles, and he hears colors, and colors are very important when you're recording. A poet, but recording anything, you want to color the material with as many different outbursts and interludes as you can, and percussion can take you into different dream realms.
just was amazing. He handled it in an amazing way. I was so pleased the way he, his demeanor, his ability, particularly with the upright bass. He listens, but he also has a fantastic tone, and he creates a pocket. But the pocket that he creates is always augmenting whatever is happening with the percussion and the kick, and that's the key to the universe right there. Once we lock that down, everything is going to get better. I think by the time we finished this album, everybody had an emotional connection to one another. You know, there's already a sense of family because Bill and I and Dan have been working together for so many years, 25 years. Will and the piano player, William Gephardt, he was really phenomenal, really interesting and creative. And Richard, I've known 30 years, and he's played with me and Bill and the Holy Men for, you know, we go back 7 or 8 years doing that combo. And so once everybody got a sense of how great the material was that Quincy was bringing to the table, we got everything we wanted to get, and it exceeded my expectations. I keep my expectations very high, and everybody's contribution was even better than I thought. The record sounds great. It supports Quincy's world-class poetry in a manner that none of us would have recognized going in, because it morphed into a very interesting and spectacular experience. I think you'll feel that when you listen to the entirety of the album. All the places that it's able to take you will be very interesting.
Where your mother had you in the violence of that red song. Ink blotter news gone now into blood graves of American blues. Sponging, rococo, truth long gone as dinosaurs, the Agent Orange landscape of former names.
Thank you so much for visiting us here live at White Rock Hall. If you haven't heard Quincy Troupe's record, if you go to live@whiterockhall.com, it's there for you to download. We have audio tracks. You're watching an episode of Live at White Rock Hall right now, but we have Quincy's album, I Throw My Rope Tongue Into the Sky, available. Audio tracks are available at our merch store. Please go check it out. Also, there's other music there for you to sample. There are other video performances here. Please, while you're sitting here looking at your computer screen, make sure that you see everything that's available to you on Live at White Rock Hall.
Quincy feels real good about the track. We had a beautiful accent in the middle that I think actually works. And let's go on and get this other one. See if
Hi, folks. So that was quite an experience, I think. I haven't been there personally, but I believe my soul resides there, or part of my soul resides there, Keith. Can you two unmute yourself? I'm trying to.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Quincy, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was quite an experience. I think many poets would be interested in the whole connection between music and poetry, how one goes into the studio, how one, performs one's work in a studio environment as compared to, say, live, etc. So, anyone out there have any specific questions at the moment?
If you'll type them into chat, we'll unmute you. Let's see, gallery view, chat.
I think Michael Anania has something to say. He's a
Okay.
Michael. Would you like to chime in about the music and spoken word / poetry? If we can unmute Michael Anania. I used to be able to unmute as co-host, but it doesn't seem like I can unmute at the moment.
Engine's asking a question.
Oh. She says, is that Ingram?
Yeah, that's me. Hi, Quincy. How are you?
All right.
Great to see you. All right. Yeah, just asking if you, in the moment of recording, did you change verses? Did you change lines? Did you improvise?
Yes, I always improvise.
Yeah. All right.
I always improvise because, because you have to change in the moment. You have
Right.
to change in the moment. Like I've been around a lot of musicians, and especially Miles Davis and my cousins, and just a whole lot of musicians. And so what I've learned being around a lot of musicians before I did this album is that you have to change, because the sound and what is happening in the moment might be different from what the poem is doing, So then you have to repeat some words or take back some words or cut out some words, so it's always a process. It's always a process. And so it's different from what you get on the page, what you get in a book, because this is another kind of process. This is with a musician. This is with not a musician, but musicians, plural, you know what I mean? And they might do something, and then you have to change, you have to change. They might play a note or a phrase, and then you have to kind of react to that. You have to react to it. And I've had the good fortune of playing with a lot of great musicians like Will Calhoun and just a whole bunch of great musicians, and so I've always learned that. I learned it from when I first started. And I know Julius Hemphill, I used to record with him, and he would tell me, he was, Quincy, why you read that like that, man? Why don't you just change that shit up? Do something else. And I would go, oh, because I would be reading off the book,
Right.
And I was thinking about just reading how it was on the book. He said, just leave that shit behind. Leave that shit behind, do something else, improvise in the moment. So I learned a long time ago. And then I was supposed to do a record with, this is a funny story, and I'm not gonna make it a long story, but Miles had asked me to do something with him and to do something with him because he heard some albums I'd done. And then he died, he died. And I went out to his grave. And I said to him, man, get up out of that ground, man. Shit. Get up out of that ground. So we were supposed to do this record, man. And what are you doing down there? And I swear, I heard something. I swear I heard the voice say, get up off my goddamn grave, mother. You disturbing the peace. You disturbing the peace. I thought that was, I don't know if I heard that, but in my head, it was like I heard it, So I jumped back off his grave. It was fun. That was funny.
All right. Thank you, Quincy. Wonderful.
You're welcome.
And so there's another question here from John Wessick.
Shante asked. There's one from Shante.
Okay, was she first or?
But she muted herself again.
I did not.
Okay, Shante, go for it.
Hello, everyone from Dover, Delaware. It's good to see everybody's faces, especially Keith. I want to know, where do you get your inspiration from? Quincy and Keith, where do you get your inspiration from for your poetry?
Yeah.
You want to go, Keith, first, or I can go, or what?
Hey, man.
Huh?
Go ahead. You're on a good roll.
Okay. Well, I get up every morning. Looking for a new thing to do. I go in my study. I learned something from my good friend who was my editor and great writer, Toni Morrison. And Toni Morrison told me one day, she says, I never know what I'm gonna, you just go and sit in front of your typewriter. go sit in front of your computer. You know, just go and sit there until it comes, you know? And that was a great words of wisdom that she gave me. So I get up in the morning and I might have a little, my wife makes me some breakfast. She makes me, I don't eat much in the morning, some coffee and some cereal. And then I go and sit in front of my computer. I go and sit in front of my computer and wait for whatever is going to come. And because I write a lot on my little tablets, I always got some notes. You know, I always have some notes that are on my tablets like this, you know, like that. See that? You know, I always am writing something on my tablets, and I go through a lot of tablets. And so I just go in there and I just sit down and I look at it and I'll start to work. And so that's my process, because for me, especially with poetry, the other thing I want to say is that I can't write poetry and prose at the same time. I cannot write poetry and prose at the same time, because for me, it's a different energy. You know, for me, poetry is like something that is like really something that is creative and it's like I'm creating something that's like, it's like music. For me, like I have this memoir called The Accordion Years. I know where I'm going with it because it's my life. It's a memoir, and I know where I'm going with it. So in that way, I'm just trying to remember some of the things that happened in my life. And then I have a novel called The Legacy of Charlie Footman that I've been writing for 25 years. But I've got about 300 pages now. And so I know where that's going. Poetry is like music for me. And Keith knows that. I mean, you know, as a musician, you know, it's like music to me. It's spontaneous, it's creative, it's right there in front of me. I really love that. I really love to be able to get up and do that in the morning. And I never know where I'm going with it. I just don't, you know, and it takes me someplace. Sometimes it takes me to a stupid place and I can't get out of it. And I run into a dead end, and then I just put that aside. And sometimes it takes me to a great place.
Hey, Shantae, it's nice to see you. I think that chance favors the prepared mind, and you have to constantly be preparing the ground so that you are ready to write. I'm to the point anymore where I do become inspired, but I don't wait for inspiration. I think if you want to get struck by lightning, then you should get your golf cart, cover it in antennas, and go driving into the storm. That's the way you get hit by lightning, because you're ready to write. Muscle is a bit like any other muscle, and if you don't use it, it eventually begins to fail you. I'm thinking about Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus hits a shot. He's in the gallery, and he hit a shot, and it goes straight up in the air. It hits the stick, ball, and somebody in the gallery goes, "Lucky shot." And Nicklaus turns around and looks at the gallery and goes, "The more I practice, the luckier I get." And I think it's a matter of building yourself into a certain routine and building yourself into a ceremony for writing. I started writing every day when I was 19 years old. I'm 58 years old now. I rarely, if ever, do I miss a day where I sit down and work on some type of notes. Franz Kafka, about the ceremony of writing, learning to build yourself into a ritual so that it's easy to fall into the ritual whenever you start to work. He talks about the villagers in a village, and they were trying to figure out where God was. And so they started carrying milk into the church, and they would set these saucers of milk in front of on the altar. And soon a pastor began to come in there and drink the milk. And all thought, "Oh goodness, there's God. God is the panther." And as a consequence, they began to build all of their ceremonies around that single act. Writing is a ceremony. And writing is also an act of love. And you practice that love by practicing your ritual every day. And you get better and better. The more you do it, the better you're going to get.
And so here's a question from John Wezek.
Yeah, hi, Quincy. I heard you perform in San Diego, though I don't think we ever talked. Anyway, my question is, when you're performing with musicians, do you fit the words to the music, or do the musicians fit the music to your words?
I think that we rehearse. Usually I try, if I know the people and I know them and we friends, we can get together and get a feeling for what we're gonna do. You know, I get a feeling for what they're gonna do. I read the poems for them. I always send the poems to them. You know, if I'm gonna work with somebody, I send the poems to them, and then they get a sense of where it is. I don't send a recording. I send the poem so they can work off that, and then they can create in that way. And so then when we come together, whether it's in the studio or it's different in a studio than it is when you do a performance. Because when you do a performance, you've rehearsed a couple of times, but you don't know what it's going to be. You know, you just don't know what it's going to be. And so when you hit, the biggest thing when you do a performance is to try sometimes, if you mess over a couple of lines, then figure out how you can make that seem like it's okay. You know what I mean? To make that seem like it works. You know what I mean? And then you go back and do the thing all over again. You keep doing it over, and you make it sound like it's like a refrain or something, you know, and then you come back into it. So it's just interesting, you know, it's just interesting. I always find working with really, especially great musicians, not bad musicians, but great musicians who always are reacting to what you're doing and reacting in a very positive way that kind of lifts you up. You know, one of the great saxophonists I like to work with is David Murray. And David Murray is fabulous to work with. He's just so fabulous because he can play hard, you know, and he can lay out and let you do what you're gonna do. And the same thing is true with Will Calhoun, and then the great guitarist, what's his name, from St. Louis, he's my friend.
Kelvin Bell.
Kelvin is fabulous. I mean, he's just fabulous, you know what I mean? And I love playing with him. And Ronnie Barrage, who's a great drummer, also from St. Louis. And so I work with a lot of the same musicians. They know they know my work. They know my voice. They know my rhythms, and I know their rhythms. And so we can do all kind of stuff together. And that's a fabulous kind of remarkable kind of situation to be with. There was a great musician who I used to know, who died, Julius Hemphill. And sometimes I can work with Oliver Lake, but Oliver Lake is a poet too. So we can kind of get in each other's way because he's trying to play saxophone, playing alto saxophone, and he's reading his own poems. So it's hard for me to fit into that, you know? It's hard for me to fit into that. So he asked me, hey man, why don't we work together? I said, well, you reading your own poems, Oliver. You don't need me. You don't need me. You know, you got your own poems. And he understood that. And so, but it's always good to work with somebody who's creative and who's imaginative and who is not insecure. That's another thing that's very important. You know, to work with people who are not insecure, who are very secure in what they do. They know they can do this. And like, I know I can do certain things. And so that's good to work with somebody who's really confident and wants to make a great record or a great performance or whatever. And so that's just a lot of fun when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I think
improvisation in my mind is the ability to listen.
Yeah.
Great musicians know that said, sound brings us to our senses. And so, you know, and the Buddhists, they talk about learning to listen may take 1,000 years, but really good musicians always have the ability not only to create on the spot, but to what everyone else is playing, and to be able to accentuate that or to respond and react to it in a rapid manner. One of the things about Quincy's record, when I produced it, I spent 6 months reading everything. I read every book of poetry that Quincy had written, trying to find what I thought would be the right material for the session. And then we spent, after I spent all that time working on it, Quincy and I spent, and that it would begin to fit into a certain format. What I'm trying to do at White Rock Hall, that I bought, and we picked it up when we moved it to the top of this mountain. And we jacked it up 18 feet. We built a first floor under it. Then we dropped the church down on top of that first floor. And then we put a recording studio in the sanctuary. And what we're trying to create here is a sort of poetry laboratory where musicians and poets can come together and create something that would accentuate, find a third rail. I want the audience to feel like they don't know whether they're sitting and listening to a poem, whether they're sitting and listening to a song, whether they're listening to a story. I want to suspend their disbelief and those beautiful astonishments, beautiful accidents, unexpected astonishments. That's the way that things that are really interesting to me get created. And improvisation, it's happening. Discovery takes place as it's happening in real time. But everybody, I'm not really interested in bringing people in who are not prepared to work. We seed the ground. As a producer, I give everybody a roadmap, and then we go down the road together and try to figure out as much as we can at the same time and listen to one another. Important thing that happens is the percussion. You know, the drummer is the king. Everybody's got to stick to the one, and everybody's got to last pretty rapid.
You still there, Keith?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
So let's move into some readings. Quincy, would you like to offer us some of your fantastic poetry?
Oh, I can read you some, yeah. I don't know if it's fantastic.
Well, I'm sure.
I'm going to read some things that are on the album, and let's see what I have here. What I'm going to do is not read the whole poem. I'm going to read sections from each one of these poems that are on this album too. Oh, is that okay? Can I hear it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's a poem for Magic. Poem for Magic for Irvin Magic Johnson, Donnell Reed, my friend, and Richard Franklin, my friend from St. Louis. We used to play basketball together in St. Louis. Take it to the hoop, Magic Johnson. Take the ball dazzling down the open lane. Herk and jerk and raise your 6 feet 9 inch frame into air sweating screams of your neon name. Magic Johnson, nickname Windex, way back in high school. 'Cause you wiped glass backboard so clean, so clean. Where you first juked and shook, wowed your way to glory. A new style fusion of shake and bake energy, using everything possible. You created your own space to fly through. Any moment now, we expect your wings to spread feathers for that spooky takeoff of yours. Then shake and glide, shake and glide, shake and glide till you hammer home a close lining deuce off glass. Now come back down with a reverse hoodoo gem off the spin and stick it in sweet, popping nets, clean from 20 feet right side, 20 feet right side. My poems have holes sewn into them. My poems have holes sewn into them, and they run searching for light. At the end of tunnels, they become trains, or at the bottom of pits, they become blackness. Or in the broad winging daylight, they are the words that fly. And wholes are these words, letters or syllables with feathered wings that leave their marks on white pages, then fly off like footprints tracked in snow. And only God knows where they go. Each of us here, Fabita, David, and Wisława, who are my Polish friends. Each of us here for a moment in time dances in the air. The smell of love, beautiful people, those who are ghastly, occupying the same place. Earth spins through light towards darkness. Time moves leaves on trees. Stevie Wonder's voice, Tomasz Stanko's spare trumpet licks echo miles. Davis's choice in Krakow, Poland, where footsteps ricocheting history over cobblestone streets carry voices of Szymborska, Milosz, Bacalace phrases of Hibbert, Komida, here, swelling through billowing gray cloud fog of November. Yet mystery is here too, real as time, as each of us moves through it. Space with superstition, wonder, we humans do, holding fast to life. They can be seen as birds soaring with music, as poetry sometimes does, when carving ballerina bodies up in space, in shapes. They dance in gaps, while others flying through space, jackknife, double pump, double pump, double pump, into the galaxy, their torsos breakdancing up in the air before tomahawking dunks to riotous cheers. But we are here, erupting through brief moments on this planet of rock and water, spinning, indecipherable, the road ahead full, packed tight with illusions. They surprise us jumping out, hidden sometimes from secret places, and love can reveal itself as a paradox here. In each of us, a flower growing in a war-ravaged space where hatred abounds despite tenderness. I have spent much time looking into the future, elusive as it is, sometimes hidden inside a word, a poetic line, a sliver fracturing a fragment, breaking away from a flowing conversation, bursting from what someone just said, now within a bright moment of elucidation. Elucidation. I throw my rope tongue into the sky, send words of love lassoing to you, cross blue valleys of distance, fight off Midwestern tornadoes, desert fried fools who want to intercept this message for you, only for you. Rain swept cooing lady, wooing tongue of cool rain. My voice, a wing of soothing feathers, riffing and riding the hot wires, comes tickling, yes, tickling, my love, your eardrums, my sweet tongue, yes, my sweet tongue looping lyrical melodies of fire, rope tongue looping melodies across skies, comes tickling sweetly your eardrums. Back to the dream time, through rivers of sound, I swim back now, new, through metaphors of blues, rising from rough throats of shamans here. I rise up like smoke, mixed with their voices, slurred over guitar, riffs like bomb, cascading clues of their syllables dropped from the sunstone of their songs, images dropped like severed heads from hooked beaks of giant prehistoric birds, blowing fierce winds and fire. And it's if by magic I have come here to this antiphonal call of language to see shadows wrinkling like wing scarves undulating sideways, like swift snakes crossing the desert of imagination, have come here to drop the blue notes of my trumpet voice into this snake pit of silence, which is the sheerest void of darkness anywhere, where even the sun is a well-kept secret and the moon wears a face so inscrutable the light doesn't even know its own editing. Here in this place, in this space of transparent echoes, me, Miles Davis, playing boughs, rolled off tongues like muffled blasts of landmines tattooing the silence of dream, come here and the light over there. Me, Miles Davis, on the other side of waking up besides the trickster figure of my own self, when I knew no contradictions anywhere in my life of a bitch's brew. My spirit hung hip, bop slick from magic of my voodoo. Lyrical phrasing, my voice edited back to almost an absent whisper, to that of these shamans who know time is a fixed mystery pulsating wherever it goes. Just think about it sometimes. Think about it. Just think about it sometimes. All you need do is open a door, walk through it, perhaps out into open space. Walk into the world, whether it's cold or warm, then go whatever directions your mind of erancities takes you. Go quickly or slowly, but move resolutely through this moment with your eyes wide open, your wandering brain, but move forward towards something perhaps you haven't thought to do before. Whatever it is, let there be beauty in it, spreading light, meaning. Open yourself up to new music, people, vistas, spontaneous improvisations of the day, rhythms carrying possibilities to unlock secrets of this moment. Perhaps will lead you to look into things, people you never focused on before you walk through this door. Perhaps the opening will reveal yourself to yourself. Revelation. Perhaps now you might feel different. Perhaps you might now feel different for the rest of your life.
And we do, Quincy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now we're about to hear from our man in Asheville, North Carolina. As long as we can get him unmuted. There we go.
Hey, man, can you hear me?
Yes.
Want to first let everybody see, this is the cover of Quincy's album that we produced here at White Rock Hall. Yeah, man, live at White Rock Hall, so you can album from there. You can order single individual songs. You can order the whole album there, or become a subscriber. There's a lot to see. I'm going to start out with after the horrifying Republican National Convention that we watched all week long, where they talked about the Democrats are communist and atheist and that sort of thing. I'm going to start out with a poem called The Agnostic. Nature selects for survival, man for appearance. Our behavior evolves according to our needs. Science at war with religion reveals our origin, that man is a beast. At least that much is certain. The battlefields of nature have never given him ease. Dung beetles working blue black ooze, brutish reproduction and the survival of louts, intent on spreading their own versions of honor, duty bound to lance the boil of imagination. The loss of faith is the swing of continents from the eternal rush of water and the deposits engendered there, layer upon layer, trembling with extinction. What was once a free swimming creature finds itself now glued by the head to a rock. In the 19th century, there were, when people were having this on stage, or they were having a opera or ballet or other performances, the footlights were typically, and they were an incandescent sort of calcium oxide. And so what happened was, they were so bright, folks, when they were watching it, they would step forward and step back, and they were so bright, they called it stepping into, had a greenish tint to it. And so the idea of being in the limelight was the idea of being closer to the audience, and you could be lit up by that sort of calcium oxide footlights that was an active flame. Also, because the light was so intensely bright, many musicians or performers or ballerinas found themselves almost blinded by it. And so they would go into the back room, and they discovered that the way to calm the eyesight of the performers was to have this very cool green, almost emerald light. And that became the green room. And so those two terms that are now, actors in the limelight and in the green room. One of the other things about those performances were, because it was an open flame, many ballerinas in particular had costumes that were highly flammable. Their tutus were almost tissue paper. And so if they got too close to the flame, it was on fire. And then they would be running away from the others. And some of the other ballerinas, if they came to put them out, there's a famous ballerina who was performing Madame Butterfly named Emily Livery, and she was burned to death in the late 19th century by one of those flames. This poem is called, in her memory, this is called Les Papillons. This is not the righteous blue flame that engulfs the monk, or the sherbet agent of invisible acid dropped by the barrel on the naked children of starving villages in South Vietnam. This is not the 80-proof Arca cocktail lit by the freebasing Richard Pryor, who was addled by self-loathing and who poured the fire over his head and ran screaming into the void. This is not the match strike under the cooking spoonful, any more than it is the convulsive propulsion shivering into massive tendrils that annihilate the bloated Hindenburg in an avalanche of star-like implosion. Fire that blotted out a flying cathedral between its fingers. This is the personal and public incineration, snapping its jaws shut around the most delicate, jubilant wings. This is the interrupted, gravity-free white lance that burns straight through the curtain, the laser emitted by a magnifying glass as it focuses a ray of the sun on an unsuspecting dragonfly, the wisp of smoke, almost a held breath let slowly out, then the shards, red and jagged, slicing them, delicate as tissue paper, sticking to the ballerina's hips as she twisted away from stage, 1,000 ingots of red and lavender knives exploding around her, a galaxy of bees hiving her, a flare, a comet, and finally, a nest of ash, hoping to hold together in the wind.
Thank you, Keith.
I want to do this poem. I wanted Boseman. Chadwick Boseman died today. He was a fantastic actor who played Black Panther. He died of colon cancer. He also played Jackie Robinson in Thurgood Marshall and spectacular around in that biopic. And I want to do this poem for him. This is called, I had a dream one time that Louis Armstrong and Howlin' Wolf appeared on the same stage together. And I don't know that it ever happened. I looked for it on YouTube, of course. If it's not on YouTube, it doesn't exist. But I didn't find it. And but I tried to suspend that dream in space with this poem. This is called Louie and the Wolf. I'm going to start with a little piece of Howlin' Wolf. I'm going to sing a little bit for you, then we'll launch into the poem. This is an old Howlin' Wolf song. Oh, I asked the girl for water, and whoa, me gasoline, and whoa, I asked the girl for water, yeah, gasoline. Now that's the terriblest woman I damn near ever see. I have come to wonder if Louis Armstrong and the wolf ever met. What a sight that would be. A grand summit meeting complete with growling, with Wolf licking his heart, fingering his horn in an effort to curtail the sonic boom of the two most powerful voices ever gathered, snarling and stalking that elegant whisper. I imagine Wolf laying tracks and Louis so remarkably dignified, so clearly in the furrows of the groove, prowling the stage like a shadow of a storm cloud. While changes like a chainsaw blade, a ragged sound, refined by the shimmering honey above the fray. Howling would get down on the stage on all fours and writhe around, and King Louis, with his handkerchief flying like a flag on a mahogany galleon, hurtling across the choppy sea's wake. Wolf was bursting with delta moan in the evil ways of a tail dragger for Satan, forsaking his mother's gospel, his neglect, right up to his final deathbed, when he wrote to her and said, "Please, Mama, please come. I'm dying." But she didn't. Named for a president, Chester Arthur Burnett was born under a bad sign. Halley's Comet burning across the sky like a brakeman's lantern. But a blues man will survive, staring straight into the sun like a rifle with eyes. And old Satch would know, his thunderous percussive purr emerging from the earth like a fountain of pent-up feeling, meticulous in its placement, as it was set to ride. His cornet weathered every swinging era. Birds, he'd be always sailing and seldom misbehaving, not since the rancid Storyville days and the colored waif's municipal boys' home, when Wolf's body was peppered black and blue with blows until Louis escaped. The bent boy escaped via the Mississippi on a light-littered steamboat, and he swam out to its giant wheel, which had just the juju and propulsion needed to heal the nuance of a genius whose rules are its own. And those last quiet notes, with the crowd so still, you could hear a rat in the walls pissing on cotton. And there was that gleaming corner of a note. Facial gloom of the American heart like buckshot, his trumpet bell uplifted and ringing. And though the rain may ooze and lovers lose that feeling, though the moon melt down and the earth finally find its ceiling in the poisoned heavens, a horn poised flaming in our imagination. Though the earth be smothered and fire rise a final time inside the webbing of our skin, we will awaken, shocked in the recognition, bound in worship like Louie and the wolf, whose dream probably never took place, though my mind cannot erase the wish of it. The sheer bliss presents a listening like I have never experienced. Gears within gears are wound together. The grace of music calming every child's feathers, arms, and sing together in the gulf's fearsome swelter. I'm going to read a couple more, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe one more, I think.
This is, well, if we're going to read one more, I'll do a poem for Nina Simone. This is called "Look for Me in Liberia." This is done in the first person of Nina, and I'm going to sing a little something too. This is a Sun House song, and then we'll get into the poem with Nina Simone. This is from my book, The Skin of Meaning, and if you're interested in getting that book, you can go online to Red Hen Press or Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. They're not closed down by the pandemic. And people grinning in your face, Lord, don't you mind in your face, and just the bear isn't mine. A good friend is hard to find, so don't you mind people grinning in your face. You know that people will forsake you, your brothers and your sisters too. And Lord, when you're in doubt, oh, they're gonna throw you down. So don't you mind people grinning in your face. People grinning in your face, and just a bear, this in mind. A good friend is hard to find, so don't you mind people grinning in your face. What may come when I sing? Sometimes my voice is gravel, sometimes it's coffee and cream. I splintered, ingested, and embraced Bach. I changed keys right in the middle. But where do I belong? Wherever the edge is, free from fear. All power is black. The ebony squirrels on the terrace, we hadn't made friends with them yet. And velvet wallpaper makes the bathroom feel more blue. There are diamonds pasted on my eyelids and on my eyebrows and on the balcony of my face. And the fugue and counterpoint makes a high priestess of soul sound so sophisticated. I'll quit. Fuck it. There's some dumbass bitch in the audience sweating me, but I've swallowed the storm, and I'll not be rode. I'm a freight train, and I tell the fucking track where to go. I listened to him, and he beat me all the way home. Nobody's seen me for 2 weeks. All the way home in the elevator, up the stairs, he beat me, slammed me into the concrete wall. He tells me, bitch, you want to be hit. He says, I need it. He says, these scars everywhere on your body, you need them, and they'll keep you straight. Everybody knows about Mississippi. Children's brains scattered in the sanctuary. Birmingham and there are bombs in my brain, and Selma in my nightgown. Goddamn, Daddy says. Hanging from the southern trees. Goddamn, Mississippi. There's a backlash, and it's the leather where all these fire hoses have opened up, and this strange fruit hanging from the southern trees, and there's this leather, and Stokely Carmichael comes. It's a blacklash, he says. And he's squeezing me. I'm bathing in bloody and I'm addled, and I leave him with the blues, either in the North Carolina backwoods or cold-ass Carnegie Hall, here in the United Snakes of America. I want to shake my people free of their elegant smugness. I want to drive shriveled hips insane. And there's 18,000 students, and they're sitting here at the University of Massachusetts, and there's 300 of them painted black. And I see my brothers and sisters, and I quit singing for anybody else. I want to see them burn, curious about themselves. I want to sing a dagger into the sixth center of the American soul. I want to cut the twisted tail off the world's largest hog. They don't know. They'd have no idea. I'm already a ghost, and wailing has descended, and I'm filled with backbone howls.
Thank you so much, Keith. That was amazing. I'm now going to hand it over to my co-host, Larissa. Are you there, Larissa?
Yes, I am. And let's have a big round of applause for Quincy, Troupe, and Keith Flynn. Thank you, guys. That was amazing. Fabulous. Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was an awesome reading. Thank you very much. Okay, before I start the open mic, I'd like to remind you again, next week, we have Ray Armentrout, Wang Ping, Lee Ann Brown, and Rion Amilcare Scott. You do not want to miss that one. September 12th, we have our translation panel with some of the world's best translators. We have Helena Cardona, we have Jennifer Kwan Dobbs, and John Taylor.
John Taylor coming in from south of France, by the way. Yeah?
And John is coming in from the south of France, so we keep up with our Lit Bomb tradition of international readings. We have people reading at 5 a.m. on Sunday for our reading, in the future even sometimes, from Singapore and from Australia, so and now the south of France. That's very good. Okay, September 19th, there is an open mic, and it's a wide open mic. Let us know if you want to read. It's for our early 100,000 Poets for Change. Present, show up. Thank you. Okay, we're going to do our open mic. I'm first going to bring up John Wessick. John, can we unmute John, please? John, can you unmute?
Unmute.
There we go.
There we go. Okay, great. So, in the same topic, here's a poem called Just Another Punk Rocker Writing About Jazz. They must have materialized at the open mic out of carbon and nitrogen in the air, those poets you'd never see in a jazz club. A guy in a Roman helmet like Mohawk reads 3-chord rhymes about Mingus. An MC in fat farm jeans fires machine gun words about Miles, and a woman in high collar and sensible shoes chops Art Blakey into 14 lines of 10 syllables. Seems you can't be a real poet unless you write about jazz. Sid and Johnny Rotten dodging loogies in Dallas, Jimmy burning his guitar at Monterey Pop, and Grandmaster Flash close to the edge just won't do. So when the girl with the stud in her tongue says Coltrane, I have to hear him the way Jack and Alan did. A one-man hallelujah chorus, his sax blowing eternity like Rumi's reed flute, notes hopping and skipping from step to step up a staircase of rapture to the backing of piano chords and the pop and crackle of needle on vinyl. But the literature of manual typewriters, Benzedrine, and William Burroughs hats has already been written. Where is the poetry slathered in SPF 16 to protect from the Coachella sun? The poetry of MP3, whose boots are caked with Glastonbury mud.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Thank you for showing up today for our open mic. We appreciate it. Next, we have Bob Heeman. Can we unmute Bob, please? Publisher, poet, Bob Heeman.
I'm here. Okay, I'm going to read a collaboration I wrote with Cindy Hockman.
Oh, great.
We've been done about 160 collaborations over the last few years. So, how many poems can you write in a year? Probably no more than one or two that contain the word osprey. And there are other birds that should never be mentioned. And sometimes there are poems that use exactly the same words. Redundancy is allowed when you're trying to emphasize. And of course, the words on the page can always be rearranged or erased and then patched together again, allowing the meaning to hide deeper, almost out of sight. But the subtext is clear even through the faint lines, although sometimes we think we are seeing something else. All of life open to interpretation. And of course, sometimes things have no meaning at all. So it's up to the poets to tell us what we saw, even if it's only a bear waking from a dream.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob. Thank you for your contribution for us today. We are planning, and I do want to drop this this hint for you right now. Save the dates: October 10th, October 17th, October 24th. We are having a big blowout fundraiser for the Democrats. So show up and do your part. Save the dates. More will be revealed. October 10th, October 17th, October 24th, big lit bomb superstar readings, and we'll do our part for the Democrats. Please help and show up, okay? Next we have Mindy Levaco. Mindy, would you please unmute?
You can hear me?
We
Yes?
can now, yes.
Thank you. This was wonderful, awesome. I'm inspired to do some singing for you guys. Okay. The clouds are all running, holding up their dresses long. They trail over tops of birch and poplar, stretch furious across reflected blue waters. They thunder, leaping over us in greatening bounds, in greatening tightening bounds. The energy screams above us, howling, and we cheer with molecule and storm, with molecule and storm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mindy. Thank you for singing for us. We appreciate it. Okay, do we have Rodney A. Brown in the house? Rodney A. Brown?
I'm trying to unmute them.
Okay, good.
Rodney, I'm hitting S to unmute. Is it saying anything?
I think.
There we go. Oh. We heard you for like a second.
Can we come back to Rodney?
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you now, Rodney. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm just going to read 6 lines from a poem that I have in a book that's coming out at Unlikely Stories in October. It's called Type Scenes. You all should check it out for sure. R E M E M B E R A N G E L A, who will COLLAPANDERDIE. Remember, Angela is written with ASURNAMETHISWILLIAMS. Remember, General, REMEMBER, generational L designations. Remember, John is written with the surname that is Crawford. Enter a supermarket. Enter in seconds. Enter ink. Grave marker right, generational designations, 3 or the 3rd behind the paper, behind the name John Crawford. Enter garments for attending a funeral. Enter diverse bodies who will collapse. Enter clothes. Enter lyrics. Exit hearses past coffins.
Rodney, thank you very much. What's the name of the book again?
It'll be Type Scenes. It's due out October 14th, and of course we'll have a virtual release party.
Okay, great. We look forward to that book from
Fantastic.
Unlikely Books. Another great book from Unlikely. Wonderful. Okay, we're going to close it out with Madeline Artenberg. Madeline, present, please.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. This is From Nothing. Thank you, Father, for 6 months of silence after I broke curfew. I begged and begged you by paper airplane and alphabet soup to talk to me. When you finally spoke, it was breakfast choices, math equations. There were whispers of your long ago escape in a hay wagon, the hasty voyage to Ellis Island for an 8-to-a-bed life on Hester Street. I wanted to hear more, but you didn't talk about the forced rifle curfews, breaking of glass in Proskurov, a sister's legs gang smashed, history on which to hang the 6-sided yellow star you gave me for graduation. I inherited your flat feet. Thank you, Father. They led me to fields of rustling quills and emptied sky on which to write.
Thank you. Thank you, Madeline. All right. That's our show. Mark, Jonathan, any last words, please?
Well, keep strong. It'll get better. Vote Joe Biden, Kamala, of course. And hang in there. And create. Lots of love.
Okay, that's wonderful. So remember, next week we have Ray Armentrout, Wang Ping, Leanne Brown, and Rian Amilcar Scott. Do not miss. Okay, guys, make Black Lives Matter. It's up to us. Make Black Lives Matter. Okay?
Yes.
So that's it. Be safe, with love. And thank you once again to Keith Flynn and Quincy Troupe for a terrific show. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks so much. Bye.